our reaction to the 2023 Azerbaijan Grand Prix qualifying. He's not done it. He's not done it. He's not done it. He's not done it. Verstappen's got a yellow middle sector. Verstappen's got a yellow middle sector. Yes! Come on, you beauty! Oh my God! Come on! So let's start at the very beginning. Q1, the world's longest Q1, I believe some may say. I don't actually know the exact time it took for us to get through that 18-minute session, but it was a long old time because we had De Vries in the wall, red flag. We then had Gasly in the wall, red flag. And Sainz had a little spin, which didn't cause a red flag, but there was absolute carnage.
Yeah, I don't actually know how long Q1 went for, but I remember thinking, I think when we were on our watch along, I looked at the time when they were just about to start Q2 and I remember thinking, quali should be over now because it had been an hour. So, yeah, crazy to have all these red flags.
I guess the question, first and foremost, is from me actually, not from a viewer. Is one practice enough? I've seen it all over social media. Is it causing dangerous conditions? The driver's not ready to perform. Of course, that month break as well is going to have impacted slightly. Is 60 minutes enough?
Yes.
Okay, moving on.
No, it's not. It's actually too much. Just get straight into quality. The funny thing is, actually, all the drivers, you thought with this entertainment thing that a lot of the drivers might be like, oh, no, we need practice. But actually, it seems like whether Stefano Domenicali has slipped them a tenner and gone, no, you will say this is good. But all the drivers seem to be absolutely loving it. But whether the people that smashed it into the wall are still saying that is another question.
I personally think it's great. It's great to have that unpredictability in the sport. I think that's what Formula One needs. As much as it is the pinnacle, we want them to go as fast as they can. Having those unknowns in the data gave us an interesting qualifying today, albeit slightly fragmented in the way in which we absorbed it. So question from @Cernst9797. Do you think quali on Friday is truly the best decision for the sport? It's difficult. How you measure this is... is the sport making more money? Probably.
Do you work on a Friday? It's probably the
From an
question.
entertainment perspective, yes, we are incredibly lucky for this to be our jobs and we can cover it. But that's not the same for everyone. A lot of people were at work today. I've seen messages of people saying, I was in maths class and I was trying so hard not to say anything whilst watching it, or I was at work. So from a fan's perspective, no, I don't think that having the most important qualifying session on the Friday is the way forward, but they are trying, as we know, to make Friday, Saturday, Sunday all worth going to.
Yeah, I don't think that necessarily the fact that quali's on a Friday is the best decision. I think the best decision is just the fact that, no surprises here from me, that there's less practice, so people aren't as prepared, and that's what's made for a very exciting quali. So that's good. I'm very, very interested to see how tomorrow goes as well, whether it's any good or not.
Let's see. Let's await our opinions until afterwards. So out in Q1 was Zhou, Hülkenberg, Magnussen, Gasly and De Vries. We know that Gasly and De Vries both washed, both into the wall. But both the Hasses out was quite a surprise. Magnussen had a problem with his car. Hülkenberg, I'm not so sure. I think he just got caught out one way or another. But both Hasses out in Q1 is a bit of a disaster.
And what a weird session as well, because it kind of felt like it had ended. And then people did a second lap, which I think is actually a very interesting situation, because does that mean that when we have SQ3 tomorrow and it's all this, there might only be one lap, there'll be two. People can go faster on the second lap.
Yeah, because we saw, I think it was about 7.5 minutes left in Q1 today, and everyone barreled out and managed to do 2 laps. So
yeah,
when they're saying there's going to be one lap, around here it doesn't seem that way, because at least they are able to, with the tyres, put in a decent, if not better lap that second time round. So maybe not as chaotic as we expect with an 8-minute SQ3, especially with only 10 cars there. I'm sure they'll be able to figure it out, but let's see. So then we move to Q2. George Russell was the big scalp, dropping out in Q2 in 11th, 0.004 of a second, I think, behind his teammate in the end. Then you had Ocon, Albon, Bottas and Sargent. I was surprised to see both Williams out, to be honest. I thought Albon might have popped in a little worldie, and he actually blamed Sainz, didn't he, for the fact that he didn't make it through. I think he was around a tenth and a half off making it through to Q3, so it wasn't far away. And he did have a big old swapper because Carlos didn't fancy moving out the way maybe as quickly as I would have liked if I was in Alex's shoes.
With how much quicker Albon's been than Sargent, you got to feel like he had more time on the table. And got to imagine Albon a bit quicker, and we would have had both Mercedes out, which is a big yikes after them talking about, we're here with potentially upgrades and things like that. And they're not looking good at all.
Question from Anax_Max Tech. How did Mercedes go from the second or third quickest car to be the sixth quickest in Q2? It's hard to really pinpoint one thing. Of course, the car is quite draggy. There's also the element of the fact that they really struggled in FP1. They had some brake problems, I think, on both cars. So that limited their running slightly. But I don't think we can take too much from the fact that we've had one practice session straight into qualifying. I think some teams will get it right, some teams will get it wrong. And Mercedes, as much as we say the sixth quickest in Q2, Hamilton managed to stick it P5, which I think was a fantastic lap considering the struggles that they'd had in practice and Q1 and Q2.
This is going to be the thing potentially if we go down this route of only one session. Just from the look of the way it kind of panned out, I felt like almost even between like a Q1 and a Q2, it wasn't necessarily always the same order, because people were just, Merck is a prime example, that they were absolutely nowhere, and then Hamilton's put it in P5, and then, Albon was so quick in that session, but then in the first session, and it's just changing all the time. It's very unpredictable, which is exactly what Formula One wants. So they will be absolutely buzzing with this example of basically less practice.
It's a positive start for the sprint race format, I would say, because they are literally learning as they're going. It's one of those that some people might not enjoy that as much because there's more mistakes, but for me that's great because it gives you that element of unpredictability that I think a lot of races need. So let's move to Q3. Charles Leclerc on pole by almost 0.2 of a second, but it didn't look that like it was going to be that after the first run, did it, Tommy? When Leclerc and Verstappen set exactly the same time, but Verstappen set it first, and I was thinking, no way is Leclerc going to be on Max's pace, but set the same time and too late. I just felt like that was peak Ferrari.
Yeah, it was crazy. Leclerc was just on it. You just can't. No one can doubt Leclerc's ability in those, in terms of pure speed. Is there anyone better? You can argue in terms of just absolute flat out going for it.
He beat Carlos Sainz by 0.8 of a second.
Madness.
That is a country mile in a track where the last sector is one corner and then flat.
Yeah, he is unreal at this place. So yeah, it's going to be good to see what he can do.
It's a problem now, right? Because my expectations were so through the floor going into this weekend. Even though we did stupid predictions, it was just kind of out of delirium. Now I expect something at the very least, him on the podium, and it's going to be interesting. But we've got another race weekend, a completely fresh slate going into tomorrow, which is such a weird thing for my brain to process. Let's move on to other things, as much as I want to talk about Charles Leclerc on pole for the rest of time. Question from Thomas Welsh, 2K16. Where the hell did the McLaren speed come from? Well, they've brought some updates, haven't they, for this weekend? It feels like Lando Norris's updates, if you see what I mean. I feel like Lando's gone, I need a bit of this, I need a bit of that, and I'll be a lot better. And he's stuck it in P7. Oscar did a good job as well in quali, P10. Set exactly the same time as Lance Stroll, actually.
So basically, the McLaren updates are as good as an Aston Martin without DRS.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
After the start of the season I think they even said that this is the car that they were wanting to have at the start of the season. So if they're on it, then fair play to them. Yeah,
and I feel for all the McLaren fans listening and maybe watching on YouTube, it's been a tough ride, has it not? But fair play to them, though. They came out with an absolute dog of a car last year and figured it out. They came out with an absolute dog of a car this year and it seems like they're figuring it out. So fair play to them. They turn around very quickly. Moving on now to Yuki Tsunoda. What a great qualifying in P8. Now, we all thought this was going to go slightly differently. When I was watching FP1 in particular, of course, I put him in the biggest flop category. No disrespect, just, it's all based on vibes, that particular prediction. But to see him in the wall after 15 minutes or whatever it was, I did wonder whether the curse was striking again. Perhaps it strikes in moments and it's gone away and it might come back again tomorrow or Sunday. But he turned it around beautifully, and P8 in what we still believe is a pretty shocking car. So good on Yuki.
Yeah, Yuki is looking like the guy that's delivering for AlphaTauri, and it was P7 in Q2, P8 in Q3, and having a great session, but just always going to be at the back of his mind that Matt Gallagher biggest flop jinx.
Well, also as well, it's going to be in the back of his mind that I'm the only part of P1 that actually backed him this season. So I'm sure that he'll be thinking about that when Tommy was supposed to be his stan and then said Nick de Vries would beat him. So, okay, we now move on to our final point of Q3, and that's the Aston Martin DRS problems. P6 and P9 for Aston Martin, despite having intermittent DRS problems.
Of all the things, of all the circuits, you don't want that to be happening at Baku, down that massive long straight. That's going to lose so much time.
They're going to hope to God that the DRS works for the races. Otherwise, they're in big problems. If they're sat in a DRS train, well, it's not a DRS train if they can't open their flaps. Yeah. That sounds weird. Moving on swiftly to the fact we have tomorrow, sprint day. As you may well be aware, of course, we've got the sprint shootout and sprint race. You looking forward to that, Tommy?
I think the weirdest thing is we're going to go straight into a qualifying. Like the next time we watch Formula One is qualifying again. That to me is just going to be very, very, very weird. It's
going to feel like a bit of deja vu, really, isn't it? We're going to be sat there going...
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to feel about it, because people complained that, it's a bit of an anticlimax for to have a sprint race and then go into the race, and then does it take away from it? Will it take away from qualifying if we go back into another qualifying, and will you kind of forget about it? But I don't know, it's weird.
Okay, there you go. Well, thank you everybody for watching and listening to our qualifying rundown on a Friday. Yeah, that's a thing. Tommy, final thoughts?
My final thoughts is that we're on a billboard.
We are on a billboard. I can't believe I didn't mention it. It'll be on our social medias if you want to see it. Mega, absolutely awesome. London, Leicester Square. We're in Dublin, Cardiff and Glasgow as well, if you want to see our little billboard, which is amazing. Send us a picture. Yeah, send us a picture if you see it. That'd be amazing. Great final thought there, Tommy. My one is, can't wait to see Charles Leclerc on pole tomorrow. It's going to be a great day, and also him winning the sprint race, and then, of course, on Sunday as well. But you'll hear from us more then. I feel like I'm maybe getting a little bit ahead of myself, but it's a great day. I wore a Ferrari top and Charles Leclerc was on pole. What more could I possibly want from life?
Good times.
Okay, perfect. See you very soon. Bye!
Bye!